Welcome to Buried Evidence, a true crime podcast. I'm your host, Katie. This episode contains graphic descriptions of violence and mature subject matter that may not be suitable for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. This is part 4 in the killing of Travis Alexander. God's Not Here. To refresh your memory, in part 3, we heard Jodi's testimony on direct examination. This was Jodi telling her side of the story while being questioned on the witness stand by her own defense attorneys. This week, we're back in the courtroom on cross-examination, where prosecuting attorney Juan Martinez gets the opportunity to question Jodi, followed by closing statements and the verdict. Many of the key elements that the state used to try and prove their theory of premeditation were largely driven by Jodi's behavior in suspicious circumstances leading up to Travis's murder. Some of that evidence was discussed in previous episodes, but to bring you up to speed, there was the burglary just a week before the murder on May 28th at her grandparents' house. This is where a .25 caliber gun was stolen from the residence, the same caliber gun used to shoot Travis when he was killed. There were also the gas cans that were borrowed and filled up prior to the road trip that Jodi took to see Travis. Cell phone records which indicated that Jodi's phone was turned off while she was in Mesa. The license plates that were removed from her rental car during her road trip, and the sudden change in her hair color from platinum blonde to brunette. There was also physical evidence collected at the scene, like the bloody palm print, Jodi's hair and Travis's blood, and the pictures on the camera discovered in the washing machine. The state's case for premeditation also factored in Jodi's behavior after the murder. For example, there was evidence that Travis's body had been moved from the hall into the shower after he was killed, and then an attempt to wash his body was made. There was also a lack of certain evidence found at the crime scene, like the gun and the knife used to kill Travis, neither of which was ever found. This, at the very least, illustrated that Jodi had enough presence of mind to dispose of valuable evidence that would have connected her to the murder after the fact. All of this is before considering the absolute brutality of the murder, and maybe the most damning of all were Jodi's lies.
People have a tendency to embellish things sometimes, don't they?
Yes.
Just like you in this case, correct?
Not on the stand, but in this case, yes.
Haven't you lied from the very start of this case until, according to you, you got on the witness stand?
No.
Well, you're saying that you're not lying here, that what you're telling us is the truth, right?
Yes.
But you are telling us that when you spoke with the detective, that wasn't true, correct? Whatever it is that you told him.
Well, some things were not true. Most things.
Most things were true? Is that what you're saying?
Some things were not true.
Did you lie to the detective, yes or no?
Yes.
And did you lie to him on 2 occasions?
More than 2, yes.
Well, I'm talking about 2 dates. Did you lie to him on 2 dates? And did you also lie to 48 hours?
Yes.
Did you lie to people in Utah?
Yes.
Did you lie to Daniel Freeman?
Yes, everyone.
Right, so you lied to a lot of people, but you're saying that just because you are sitting here in this courtroom, there has been, for lack of a better term, a conversion, and you're now telling the truth, right?
For lack of a better term, yes.
Something that struck me after hearing Jodi testify was how her answers changed while on direct examination to cross-examination. On direct, she seemed like a broken, meek girl who had been a victim. Jodi's crystal clear recall helped her deliver details about events from her past and her relationship with Travis, down to the type of drink she ordered at Starbucks, how Travis came down from the attic on a Monday in January and yelled boo at her to startle her, that she remembered placing her purse on his dresser, and how, quote, a paper sailed off the bed in the chaotic pattern that paper falls. By comparison, while on cross-examination, Jodi struggled to remember major events and was evasive and wishy-washy with nearly all her answers. She challenged the prosecutor at every chance she got, claiming memory loss or that the questions posed weren't exactly what she was doing or thinking. Prosecutor Juan Martinez plays a clip of Jodi's interview with Detective Flores before grilling Jodi about her lies.
A lot of details on this case that haven't been released to the public and not even to Travis's family. And those details are known only by us and the person who did it. Okay, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, because I believe that you know some of these details, and I think you can help us.
I would love to help you in any way that I can.
Okay.
Did you hear yourself telling the detective that you would help them in any way that you could?
Yes.
That's not true, is it?
I don't know. I guess it depends on what help means.
Yes or no? Were you there to help him?
I don't know.
Were you there to tell the truth?
No.
That wasn't the truth, was it? That you were there to help him, was it?
No, that was not the truth.
And in fact, you were there for a different purpose. You were there so that he wouldn't get the truth, right?
No, I was there against my will.
You were there against your will. You didn't have to talk to him, did you?
In hindsight, I realized
Yes
I
or
didn't
no?
have to.
Did you have to talk to him? I'm not asking you about hindsight. Isn't it true that you could have chosen not to talk to him, right?
I could have, I think.
And well, you keep saying, I think.
At the time, I didn't know
Man,
that.
I'm asking you. You keep saying, I think. Isn't it true that you had an opportunity to stop talking to him, but you chose to talk to him? Yes or no?
That's true.
And during that time, you told him certain things, right?
Yes.
And in fact, when you spoke to the detective, one of the things that you told him was that you were never there, right?
Yes.
And by there, I mean at the crime scene, right?
Yes.
And you told us previously, well, the reason that I lied to him was because I was ashamed. Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
Just because you're ashamed, that gives you the right to lie?
Objection, argumentative.
Sustained.
Well, ma'am, the fact that you were ashamed, do you think that justifies what you did?
Objection, argumentative.
Overruled. No.
And do you think the other thing that you said, well, you know, I knew it was going to happen, but I was trying to postpone the inevitable. Is that what you were doing when you were lying?
No, because the inevitable had occurred.
Pardon?
The inevitable had already occurred.
The inevitable to you was being arrested then, right?
Yes.
So if being arrested had already occurred, then why didn't you tell the truth?
I was ashamed.
So, which is what you told us before, right?
Before when?
Today. Isn't that the word that we just talked about? You were ashamed?
Yes.
So are you having problems remembering what you said a couple minutes ago?
No.
So you were ashamed. What could you possibly be ashamed of other than that you killed Travis Alexander, right?
That was the biggest part of the shame.
Oh, so there were other things that you were ashamed of more than killing Mr. Alexander then?
Yes.
Objection, this character testimony.
Overruled.
Yes?
Yes.
And one of the other things that you were, well, and the reason that you were ashamed of killing Mr. Alexander is because that was going to have some repercussions for you, wasn't there?
Part of the reason, yes.
Again, part of the reason. The other reason was that you were feeling scared, right?
That's part of the reason too.
So if you feel scared, you believe that then it's okay to lie.
No, that's not true.
Well, that's what you did though, right?
Yes, it is.
So that's no excuse then, right?
No, it isn't.
And in fact, there's nothing that the detective ever did to get you to say whatever it was that you said on the first interview, right?
Not that I recall.
Well, again, we're with the memory issue. Ma'am, are you having problems remembering what happened back on July 15th of 2008?
No.
So he didn't do anything then, right?
Can't think of any examples.
Right, because he didn't do anything, right?
Anything what?
What are we talking about, ma'am? Are you again having problems understanding what's going on?
Argumentative, Your Honor. She can't understand his questions. That's
Overruled. To me, answer.
I don't understand his question.
Ma'am, the detective didn't do anything during the interview to cause you to lie, right?
No.
And the detective admonished you or gave you your Miranda warnings, didn't he?
Yes.
And he sat and he talked to you, right?
Yes.
And one of the other things that you told him was that, well, you were told us here in court was that the reason that you lied was because you were thinking about your family, right?
That was one of the reasons.
That's one of the reasons that you told us, right?
Yes.
How is it that, so then what you're telling us, if there's a good reason for it, it's okay to lie?
That's not what I'm telling anyone.
Well, you were saying you were thinking about your family, right?
I did say that.
And that's a good reason or an excuse for you to lie then, right?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, that's the way you try to, didn't you tell us on direct examination that the reason that you lied was because you were thinking in part about your family? Yes or no?
Yes, I said that.
And so then the way you were conveying it to us was that it was okay. That's a good excuse to lie.
If I conveyed it that way, I didn't mean to.
Well, because you still have a family, right?
Yes.
So but you did say that you were concerned about your family, right?
Yes, I did.
You were concerned about your reputation, right?
Yes, I was.
And so you were thinking more of yourself when you made this statement to this detective, right?
I'm not sure about that.
Well, other than you, who would be sure about your statements?
God?
Well, God's not here. We can't subpoena him, right?
I don't think so.
With regard to this issue of this interview, it was for, when you lied, it was to benefit you, right?
It was not for my benefit.
Well, wasn't hurting you when you were lying, was it? If he would have believed your lie, it would have helped you, right?
It was hurting me to lie.
Pardon?
It was hurting me to lie.
It was very what?
It was hurting me to lie.
So in other words, you're saying that when you're talking to this detective, it was hurting your case to lie?
Yes.
You didn't know that at that time, did you?
No.
You took a chance by lying, didn't you?
I wouldn't call it that.
Well, yes, you did take a chance because you were hoping.
Objection, argumentative.
I don't have a question, honey.
Finish your question.
You were hoping, ma'am, that he would believe what you were saying so that you could then walk out of that jail, right?
No, that's not right.
What other reason would you have to lie other than that it would benefit you?
I assumed that though that video would become public one day and I didn't want my family to see me admitting to something like that.
So, but you admitted it now.
Yes.
Your family's here, right?
Yes.
There are cameras everywhere, right?
Yes.
What has changed other than geography?
Time.
Time has changed. Oh, so a lie back then can be morphed into the truth now because time has changed, right?
Nothing has been morphed.
Well, you're saying that time has made the change that allows you to say something here, right? That you didn't say before.
An internal change, yes.
So you were saying that back then you were geared to lie.
No.
Well, that's what you said. There's been an internal change, right?
Yes.
And so this internal change, before that internal change, back on July 15th of 2008, that was part of the reason why you lied. This internal issue or change or problem, whatever it was, right?
Yes, I had a problem.
Not only did Jodi lie to police, but she took interviews with national media outlets like Inside Edition and 48 Hours after her arrest. These interviews were entered into evidence by the state, and much like her testimony on direct examination, she told an elaborate tale, detailing each event with the same crystal clear recall. The problem with this is that we now know, and Jodi admitted, that these tales were fiction. None of it was true. And at times, even in the same interview, she gave conflicting statements about what happened when Travis was killed.
I'll talk about this, and nobody knows this. The detectives know this because I've spoken with them. Boy, this is really hard. I'm trying to think if I want to say this or not. There's a lot of evidence that places me at Travis's house the day he was, or not just the day he was killed, but the day, that most of that week. And there is a reason for that. And that reason is that that I did see Travis the day that he passed away. And a lot of things happened that day. I almost lost my life as well. And I was told that I can't speak about it or tell anyone about it because my family's life was in danger over it. I was told that if I did, that they would all die and that I would die. And that was kind of the end of the story. There was an argument among some people, two individuals, that one wanted to take my life, and one said, that's not why we came. And at one point, the guy with the gun sort of succumbed to her pressure, I think, because he was holding the gun at my forehead, and I was on the ground, on my knees, and I was near the armoire of where he kept his TV in his bedroom, and Travis was in the bathroom. She was standing over Travis near him, and the guy with the gun was standing near me, and again, this argument was going on back and forth. And I just remember holding my head and closing my eyes. And then there was so much that went on that day, but the short of it is he pulled the trigger and nothing happened, just a click. And I realized then that he probably, I don't know if that means that he was out of bullets, or I don't know what that means. I wasn't that familiar with handguns. And so at that point, I pushed past him and I ran down the stairs. He didn't make much of an effort to stop me, but I could almost swear that I heard someone following me down the stairs. And I ran out the front door and I got into my car and I drove and I left.
Ma'am, nowhere in that recitation or in any of the interviews that you gave with 48 Hours did you ever indicate that you had memory loss, correct?
That's correct.
I move for the admission of Exhibit 501.
No objection.
501 is admitted.
Again, I was looking down and going through some photos. He is really critical of himself. We're all our own worst critics. And so, some pictures he liked, some he didn't. And I was looking through the pictures and I heard, again, a loud pop. And I was hit on the back of the head. I don't think I was out very long. But when I came to, I was kind of laying next to the bathtub and the shower right next to each other. And Travis was on all fours on the tile. And he was, well, I say all fours, but one of his hands was actually holding his head. And I mean, he wasn't laying down or anything. He was kind of on his knees and on the, on his hands. And at that point, I looked over toward the entrance of the bathroom. There was a hallway and two people were walking down the hallway, and I ran into the closet. It's a big closet. And I was going to run out the other door, except he stopped me with a gun pointed at my forehead. And I was just, when you have a gun pointed to your forehead, you just do anything. So he told me to get down onto my knees and sit over by the armoire. So I just stayed there, squatting on my knees next to armoire. And he left the room for a minute, maybe a few minutes. And she was in the bathroom, standing over Travis. And I charged her. I ran down that hall and I pushed her as hard as I could. And she fell over him, landed near the sink. There's two sinks in the master bath, and he landed near the left sink, near the trash can, close to the windows. And I started to pull on him, and I said, "Come on, let's go." And he just wasn't. He was sluggish and lethargic, and he just wasn't getting up, and he wasn't really saying much of anything. He was there, and he was conscious, and I could see that. He wasn't saying much. I was able to get him he was sort of not crawling, but he was kind of moving and trying to stand up. And I was able to get him about halfway down the hallway when she came back at me, and we struggled for a few minutes. And again, she was doing what she could to overpower me, and she was kicking me, and she was stomping on my feet, and she was trying to kick my knees, and I was kind of bending them or trying to do what I could. And he came back in the room, and again, I had to go back to where I was sitting and stay there. And that's when they both began to argue about whether or not I should die. And there was an argument that went on back and forth between them for several minutes. At least it felt like several minutes. And he didn't want to, and she did. And she kept saying why they should. And he kept saying, well, that's not why we came here. And after he had gone through my purse again, he finally just pulled the trigger. And I thought, honestly, it's over. It's the weirdest feeling to think that it's going to be over at any second, and then someone pulls the trigger, but you're still there. And at that point, I just ran. I pushed right past him. And I flew down the stairs, and there's part of I wasn't even in my body. I think I was, but everything felt numb. I was hyperventilating, and my heart was racing. And so even as I went down the stairs, there was part of me, my brain was telling my legs, don't screw up, or you're going to fly down these stairs and you're not going to get away. So I'm, trying my best not to stumble down these stairs. And I just went out as fast as I could and out the door and slammed the door behind me and got in the car and left.
And that's another version of the events that occurred on June 4th of 2008, correct?
Yes,
And they're not true.
neither of them. Well, it's all the same thing. It's just different versions. Can keep my life straight.
So the answer is they're not true, right?
Neither of them, yes.
Lying to police, her friends, family, the nation, and even the jury didn't help Jodi's case, but it didn't absolutely guarantee that she would be convicted of first-degree murder. For prosecutor Juan Martinez, he needed to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Jodi had planned Travis's murder before she carried it out. Before setting out on her long road trip on June 2nd, 2008, Jodi made plans to rent a car in Redding, California, which is about an hour and a half from Wairika.
And so you're in Wairika, and you decide instead to rent a car from Redding, California, right?
Yes.
And that's south of Wairika, correct?
Yes, on my way.
And it is on the way, but it is south, correct?
Yes.
And it's 90 miles away?
I think it's 99 miles.
So in terms of travel, we're talking about what? Close to 2 hours?
Maybe just under 2 hours, I think.
And on this particular day that you left, on June 2nd of 2008, you left the house around 5 o'clock in the morning, something like that, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was very early in the morning.
Well, you were at the Reading airport by 8 o'clock, weren't you?
Yes.
And so did you get there before 8 o'clock and just wait around, or did you get there at about the same at that time?
I don't remember waiting. Well, I waited a little bit because there was a line, but not waiting for them to open.
And somebody was with you, correct?
Yes.
A guy was with you, right?
I can't remember if it was my brother's neighbor or my sister-in-law, but I think it was my sister-in-law. So either one of them dropped me off and picked me up or vice versa.
So when you're saying that they dropped you off and picked you up, what you're saying is that they did not get out of the car that took you to the Reading airport, correct?
I don't remember.
You don't remember whether or not they went up to the counter with you?
I think I was alone.
So you were here when Mr. Colombo testified, correct, as to whether or not you were accompanied, correct?
Yes.
And so what time did you arrive at this would be your sister's house, right?
Yes.
What time did you get there?
Before renting the car, you mean?
Yes. That was the only time that you got there, on June 2nd, correct?
No, I got there with the rental car afterward and
Pardon?
took a nap. No, I went back to our house.
All right. The first time before you rented the car.
In the morning. I don't remember the exact time.
So it would have been, and they knew you were coming, correct?
Yes.
And so they were ready to then take you down to the airport, right?
Yes.
And they dropped you off, and then you went to pick up the car, right?
I believe they did. Yes.
And one of the things that happened is that you initially were given a car, or rented a car, by Mr. Colombo. Colombo, correct?
Yes.
And the car that he offered you initially was red, right?
Yes.
And you told him that you didn't want the red car, right?
That's right.
And the reason that you told him that you didn't want the red car was because it would call attention to it would stand out more, correct?
No.
Well, didn't you tell him that you did want to exchange the car though, right?
Yes.
And you told him that red is a color that police officers sort of focus on. You remember telling him that? Is that yes or no?
I'm trying to remember. I don't think I worded it that way.
So you did give him a reason why you didn't want that car, right?
Yeah.
And part of it had to do with the color, right?
Yes.
You didn't want the color red,
Yes.
correct? The color red seems to stand out, doesn't it?
I don't know. I just heard they get more tickets.
Right. And so it had to do with the police department, right? You did not want to stand out, and that's why you wanted a different color, correct?
Not the police department because I'd be on the freeway. I just didn't want to get tickets, and I heard they get more tickets.
Who do you think gives traffic citations, ma'am?
On the freeways in California, it's the California Highway Patrol.
That's police, aren't they?
I don't think they're police. I think they're law enforcement, but not categorized as police. Not to my knowledge, anyway.
So if there's a crime, you're saying that the California Highway Patrol doesn't respond to them?
They respond as well as maybe the sheriff's office or something. Depends on the district, I would imagine.
Right. And so you were afraid that police, whether it includes the California Highway Patrol or somebody driving down the street, that they would focus in on your car because you had heard that police get more tickets involving a red car, correct?
Afraid? No, I wasn't afraid. I just didn't want to shell out more money for tickets.
Right. So afraid may not be the word that you like. What word would you like? Concerned?
I don't know.
Well, no, you're the one that said afraid wasn't the right word. Why don't you tell me what word you would use in describing your reluctance in taking a red car?
It was motivated by financial frugality.
Well, you're telling us then that the red car was cheaper to rent than the white car.
No, in theory, I would be less likely to get a speeding ticket and shell out hundreds of dollars if I were not in a red car.
So what you're saying is the red car, in your view, because of the color, stands out more to police departments, whether they be California Highway Patrol, whether they be the Salinas Police Department, whether they be the Reading Police Department, right?
I'd be speculating, but I guess that's why they get more tickets. I don't know.
Well, no, I don't want you to guess because I want you to tell us what you were thinking at the time because you were the one that made this request involving the red car.
Well, my thought is that drivers of red cars tend to drive faster. They get more tickets. That's just what I've always been told.
Prosecutor Martinez questioned Jodi about the receipts she kept from her trip, starting with a receipt for gas in Winnemucca, Nevada on June 6, 2008. The receipt showed that nearly 12 gallons of gas was purchased at the pump using a MasterCard issued to Jodi Arias. The receipt was important to the prosecution's case because it helped establish the capacity of gas needed to fill up the tank in the rental car.
Had some time off, didn't you?
Yes.
And this was going to be part of your vacation, right?
Road trip, yes.
The road trip was your vacation, right?
It was partially vacation, partially a business trip.
And when you say partially business trip, what you're saying is, for example, that if you went to buy gas, that's something that could be deductible, correct?
If it was for the business purpose, yes, it would be deductible.
Sure. And in fact, since you were going to go to Utah, going to a gas station, it would make sense to save the receipts so that you could then deduct them from your income taxes, right?
That's right.
And in this particular case, wouldn't matter whether or not you paid cash or you paid with a credit card, right?
It wouldn't matter for tax purposes.
Right, as long as you had the receipts, right?
Yes.
And in this case, so you did pay at least attention to the receipts that you got, for example, from the gas station, right?
What do you mean by pay attention?
Kept them.
Yeah, I throwed everything in a shoebox.
Right, you threw everything in the shoebox, everything related to this trip, right?
Yes.
All of the receipts from this trip were thrown in this shoebox that we've seen previously, right?
No, probably not all, but just whatever was left over in my wallet.
Well, but you were trying to pay attention to keep the receipts that were related to a business expense, right?
Somewhat. I'm very disorganized, but that's kind of my effort, yeah.
Well, no, that's what you were attempting to do, right?
Yes.
And in fact, you did save some of the receipts involved with this particular trip, right?
Yes.
And we were talking about a car rental in Redding, California, and you ultimately were given a second car, correct?
Yes.
And the color of this car was white, correct?
Yes.
And that was more to your liking because of this issue involving the traffic citations, correct?
Yes.
And this car had a capacity of over 12 gallons per tank full, correct?
It was 10 or 12. I don't remember.
Well, okay. Do you remember, this is exhibit 237.018. Do you remember filling up with gas in Winnemucca, Nevada?
I remember running out of gas in Nevada, and
When you say that you ran out of gas, there was absolutely no gas in your car, or you were just running low?
it was the gas light was on. So
When you say that the gas light was on, doesn't mean that you're not moving. It means that you are low on gasoline, correct?
yeah, it was kind of below.
Are you saying that that's where it happened in Winnemucca, Nevada?
No, I was probably. I think he said I was 15 or 20 miles from there.
And you were able to make it to Winnemucca, correct?
No, I pulled over.
And you pulled over and did what?
I went in and asked the guy where the nearest gas station is. He said it's about 15 miles. I think he said 15 miles further. I didn't think I would make it on E, so I went and started putting gas in the car, and he came out and assisted me.
And you were putting gas from what?
From one of the gas cans.
All right. And let's just take a look at this exhibit right here. And it indicates that it's your name, right?
Yes.
It's from Winnemucca, right?
Yes.
And it indicates that the amount that you purchased was 12.175 gallons, right?
Yes.
And you paid $49.91, correct?
That's right.
And this issue involving you running out of gas, that's not something that you told us on direct examination, correct? Yes,
No, I was not.
And so you have this car that has at least a capacity of 12 gallons.
Jodi's defense attorney, Kirk Nurmi, objects to the questions being asked, and then they take a sidebar with the judge before Juan Martinez can continue his cross-examination.
Yes or no, in Winnemucca, did you fill it up with gas?
I put gas in it. I probably filled it up.
So you're saying that you're not sure if you filled it up all the way with gas then, right?
That's right.
But you did make a purchase in Winnemucca pursuant to Exhibit 237.018 in which 12.175 gallons were purchased by you, right?
Yes.
And so it could be that the tank was 15 gallons of gas, right?
Speculation.
Overruled. Give me an answer.
Right?
That's possible.
But at least we know that this gas tank could hold at least 12.175 gallons of gas, right?
Right.
A key element of the state's case to prove premeditation hinged on evidence that Jodi used gas cans to fill up her rental car while on her road trip through the desert to avoid leaving any trace of herself on her travels through Arizona.
And before you went on this trip, it started on June 2nd of 2008, correct?
Yes.
Started around 5 o'clock in the morning, correct?
It was early in the mornings, around that time.
Because you were at Reading at 8 a.m., correct?
Yes.
Well, we saw the receipts. Were you here when the receipts were shown of you renting the car at approximately 8:01?
Yes, I was here.
And so if it takes you 1 to 2 hours to drive down there, that would mean you would have to get up pretty early, right?
Yes.
And so you got up pretty early, you drove down to Reading, but in anticipation of that, you actually called somebody by the name of Daryl Brewer, right?
Yeah, and I'm sorry I didn't get up early. I was up all night. So.
Pardon?
You said I got up early. I just wanted to make that clear. I was up all night. So.
Okay, so what you're saying is you didn't sleep that night, right?
I didn't sleep that night, no.
Okay. So, but you did, in anticipation of this trip, contact an old boyfriend, right?
Yes.
And that would be Daryl Brewer, right?
Yes.
You made a number of telephone calls to him, correct?
Probably.
And when you say probably, it means that you're not sure, right?
I'm not sure, no.
So you at least made 2 calls to him, though, right?
If that's what my phone records reflect, then that would be right.
Now I'm asking what your memory reflects.
I don't remember actually calling him before leaving on my trip.
So you have no idea as to whether or not you even called him before you went on the trip then, right?
I don't recall. Well, of course I called him before the trip, but I don't know how soon before the trip.
So you don't remember whether or not it was in May then, is that what you're saying?
I did talk to him in May.
And it was toward the end of May, correct?
Probably.
And when you keep saying probably, it means that you're not sure, but that you do not deny that you made a call, right?
That's right.
And so you made this call to him at the end of May, and you asked him whether or not he had any spare gas cans for you to use, right?
That sounds right.
No, I'm not asking what sounds right. Is that what you did?
I think I did, because he's the one I ended up borrowing them.
Well, ma'am, are you having trouble again with your memory with regard to events then?
Yeah, because there were a few different...
So the answer is yes. You are having trouble with your memory.
With that question.
Well, are you having trouble? It's not the only question that you've had trouble with. Are you having trouble with the memory of the events leading up to your trip?
Leading up to... Yeah.
Okay.
A little bit.
And you would agree then that the events leading up to your trip were probably the end of May, and the killing was on June 4th of 2008. So are you saying that that whole period you're having problems with your memory, or is it just the end of May?
Well, there are some things I recall and some things I don't.
So my question is, are you having trouble with both or just the end of May?
I'd say my whole life is like that. So both.
So you're saying that you're having trouble remembering everything or events throughout your life. Is that what you're saying?
Some things, not everything.
And sometimes you know what you can remember very well, and sometimes you can't. Is that what you're saying?
You mean can't at all or can't remember well?
Can't remember. Both well or at all?
Yeah,
Tell me.
all of the above.
And so at the end of May then, you're saying that you really don't remember whether or not you made a telephone call to Mr. Brewer. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember specifically, but I know I called him at one point.
All right. And you did call him because you wanted to talk to him about some gas cans, right?
That wasn't the purpose of the call.
Well, that was what was discussed during that call, correct?
I think so, yes.
You're saying you think so? Yes, correct? That's
Yes.
what you're saying. And so one of the things that you told him in discussing these gas cans was that you were going to take a trip, right?
Yes.
And that the purpose for the gas cans was that you could put gas in them, right?
Yes.
And the other thing that you told him was that the trip that you were going to make was going to be to Mesa, Arizona, right?
No.
You were here when he testified, correct?
Yes.
And he's somebody that you've had a long-term relationship with, correct?
Yes. About 4 years.
Pardon?
About 4 years, we were in a relationship.
Right? And then even after that, you have had, if not a close friendship, you've had a friendship after the two of you split, correct?
It was more distant, but it was still a friendship.
Sure. And in fact, you felt comfortable. You still remembered his number, right? Telephone number, right?
Yes.
And you felt comfortable enough to ask him for a favor, right?
Certain favors, yes.
Well, that particular favor, you felt comfortable in asking him for that, right?
Which one? The gas cans?
Well, which other favor are we talking about? Are there more than one favor here that we've talked about?
I want to know what you're talking about.
No, I'm asking you. Do you remember that we started talking about gas cans? Do you remember that?
Yes.
That we've talked of nothing else other than gas cans so far. Is there anything else that you believe that we've talked about?
I wasn't sure, that's why I asked.
You have this conversation with him involving the gas cans. It is more than one conversation, isn't it?
I don't remember.
And there could be more than one conversation. It's what you're telling us, right?
Yes.
And are you saying you did not tell him that you were going to go to Mesa when you spoke to him?
That's right, I told him after.
I'm asking you, the question is this, isn't it true that before you went on the trip, you told him you were going to Mesa?
No, that is not true.
All right. Isn't it true that as part of one or another conversation that you had, you told him that you were going to go to Arizona to visit some friends?
No, I said Utah.
You didn't. I'm asking you whether or not it's true that you told him that you were going to Mesa to visit some friends before you took the trip.
No, I said Utah.
I'm not asking you what you said, am I?
Objection, Badger.
Overruled.
Yeah, I think you are.
You're thinking. My question to you is asking you what you told them. Is that what you think it is? Whether or not you told them that you were going to go to Utah? Do you think that that's what the question was?
No.
The question was, isn't it true, ma'am, that you discussed with Mr. Brewer before the trip that you took that you needed the gas cans to go and visit friends in Mesa, Arizona? What is your answer to that?
My answer is no, I told him Utah.
And I'm asking you whether or not you think I'm asking you what you told him. Am I asking you what you told him?
That's kind of my interpretation of it. It's a yes or no question.
It is a yes or no question, isn't it?
And I answered no 3 times, yes.
And you also added something 3 times, didn't you?
Yes, the truth.
Am I asking you whether you're telling the truth?
You have asked me that.
Am I asking you right now if you're telling the truth?
I don't know, are you?
Well, have you heard that question prior to you saying that?
Yes.
You heard that question immediately before I'm telling the truth. The prosecutor asking you if you were telling the truth, you heard the prosecutor say that.
Not immediately.
Pardon?
Not immediately.
So the answer is yes or no. Did you hear the question immediately before you gave the answer that you were telling the truth?
No, not immediately.
So you did have these conversations with Mr. Brewer and you decided to get the gas cans. Why don't you just go and buy some gas cans?
They were expensive.
And when you say they were expensive, how much is a gas can?
I don't remember, but it wasn't in my budget for my travels.
And you wanted 2 of them, right?
I don't know, I guess whatever he had.
So if you would have had 6, you would have taken 6?
No, they wouldn't have fit.
What Jodi and her defense team didn't account for was the doggedness of prosecutor Juan Martinez to find the truth in this case.
You told us about the gas cans from Mr. Brewer, right?
That's right.
But you forgot to tell us something else, didn't you?
You haven't asked me yet.
Well, isn't it true that there was more than 2 gas cans involved, right?
Yes.
And you testified on direct examination involving the gas cans, didn't you?
Yes.
And you never testified about a 3rd gas can, did you?
No.
And this 3rd gas can, you actually bought it in Salinas, didn't you?
Yes.
And you bought it from Walmart, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And not only do you have 2 5-gallon gas cans, you have another gas can. What's the capacity of this one?
It was the same size. No, I think it was, I don't know. It was the same size, I think.
You think it was, so now you have a capacity of 15 gallons, right?
At that moment, I did.
Well, you're saying like at that moment. Did the size of these gas cans change so that it would go from a 15-gallon capacity down to a lesser capacity?
Objection, Badger.
I sustain the objection.
With regard to, you keep saying that at that point you had that capacity. Was there something involving these gas cans that would not allow you to fill them up to their capacity later on?
Yes, there was.
And what is that?
I returned the gas can.
You returned it back, right?
Yes.
So that you now have a capacity of still 10 gallons, right?
Yes.
Maximum, right?
Yes.
So then why is it, ma'am, that when you go to the ARCO, you fill up with gas, you remember that?
Yes.
And then you go inside and exhibit number 237.012, do you see that there?
Yes.
That's a capacity of 10 gallons, right? Or approximately, it's 9.5494 gallons, right?
Yes.
And then 237.013, it's 2.77 gallons, right?
Where does it say that? Oh, yeah, I see that.
So you're saying that these gas cans then have a larger capacity now?
I don't know what the capacity was.
Well, you remember Mr. Brewer saying they were 5-gallon gas cans, right?
I don't know if he said that or not.
You were here when he testified, right?
I was physically here, yes. Sometimes I space out.
Pardon?
I was physically here, yes. Sometimes I space out.
And so you're saying that throughout the trial you may have spaced out and not paid attention to what's going on?
During other people's testimonies, sometimes my mind wanders.
So the answer is yes.
Yes.
And you don't remember then specifically what Mr. Brewer may have said. Is that what you're saying?
I remember some things he said. Almost all.
But not everything.
Not every single thing.
Well, 237.011. Do you see that it says ARCO and it's in Pasadena?
Yes.
Do you see the address there?
Yes.
What's the address? Read it for me.
3706 East Foothill Boulevard.
And the city and state?
Pasadena, California, 92553.
And it does talk about a debit account. You see that?
Yes.
Talks about a date of June 3rd, 2008, right?
Yes.
And a time of 8:42 p.m., right?
Yes.
And then it talks about being at pump number 2. Do you see that?
Yes.
And then it talks about the amount of gallons that are involved, right?
Yes.
8.301 gallons. And there's the price there, right?
Yes.
That is for you filling up the car, isn't it?
I don't know.
Well, you were there though, right?
Yes.
And this is first in the sequence at 8:42 p.m., right?
Yes.
And you don't know whether or not this is part of filling up the car with gas then?
I don't remember what order I filled
All
out.
right, well, you remember that we were talking about 2 5-gallon gas cans, right?
Yes.
5 plus 5 is 10, right?
That's right.
This is 8.301. Do you see that?
Yes.
So this is not the capacity, if you will, of the up to 10 gallons for those 2 gas cans, correct?
It has that capacity, so that's not correct. That's not the maximum capacity.
No, it isn't, right? So there's no reason to believe that this could be the gas cans. If you're going to take these gas cans, presumably you're going to fill them up to the top, right?
Objections. Assuming something else.
Restate your question.
You were taking those gas cans for a reason, right?
Yes.
And that was to have extra gas, right?
Originally it was...
Yes or no? Was it to have extra gas available to you?
At one point, yes. At another point, no.
Well, and if you want to have extra gas available to you, don't you want to have the maximum amount?
I guess.
Well, no, you were driving. You're the one that asked to borrow these gas cans. If you have let's just say 10 gallons of space available, and you want to make sure that you have enough gas, wouldn't you fill it up to approximately 10 gallons?
I don't know.
Ma'am, what's going on is that Exhibit 237.001 is you filling up that Ford Focus with gas, isn't it?
I don't remember what order I filled up.
And this was at 8:42 p.m., right?
Yes.
And you went and you pumped your own gas, didn't you?
Yes.
And then you paid with a debit card. Do you see that?
Yes.
You had a MasterCard back then, right?
I don't remember what it was, MasterCard or Visa.
But you paid for that with a credit card or Visa or MasterCard, whatever it was, right?
Yes.
With regard to the gas that you purchased inside, which is 237.012, you paid cash, right?
That's right.
And cash is harder to track in terms of sales than a credit transaction. Wouldn't you agree?
Not if you save the receipt.
Not if you save your receipt. What if you don't save your receipt, ma'am? Wouldn't you agree that a cash transaction is harder to keep track of than a credit transaction?
Yes, I would agree with that.
And in this case, you initially said, I want to pay $40, right?
Yes.
And then it's the amount of gallons that you got for that was 9.594 gallons, correct?
Yes.
And that was the $40, right?
Yes.
Do you see the time there?
That would be 10:53.
Well, how about 8:46:50? If we, you see the 20:46:50, wouldn't that be 8:46:50?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. That's correct.
And that is 4 minutes after the transaction and 237.001. Do you see that?
Yes. Wait, what was the other time? I'm sorry.
There's 8:42.
Okay.
You see that?
Yes.
8:46:50. Do you see that?
Yes. I was sorry. I was looking at the other time on the top.
Do you see that right there?
Yes.
It's 8:46:50, right?
Okay.
So that's 4 minutes after the transaction. That's the debit transaction, right?
Yes.
And then you have 237.013. It's the same article, right?
Yes.
And this one is at what time?
This one is at, what time was it?
How about 8:53?
53, yes.
And that's 5 minutes later than the transaction involving the approximately 10 gallons of gas, right?
Yes.
And during that time, that 5 minutes, that would allow you to go from the inside out to your car again, wouldn't it? 5
Yes.
minutes. It was that close, correct?
Yes.
And the time span between Exhibit 237.001, which is 8:42, to the next one, which is 8:46, which is 4 minutes, that would give you time to go back between the car and the register or inside the store, correct?
Yes.
And so now we know that at that particular gas station, you spent 237.011, I'm sorry. It's $35 there, right?
Yes.
And 6 cents, but let's leave the cents aside. And 237.012, that's $40. So far you spent $75 in gas, right?
Yes.
And then if you add from 237.013, if you add 9, because we're rounding up, you're now talking $84 in gas that you spent, right?
I don't know. I'm not good at math, but okay.
Assuming the math is correct,
Assuming math is correct.
it's between $80 and $84 in gas that you spent, correct?
Yes.
And so you've now driven all the way down there, and one of the reasons that you told us on direct examination that you wanted these gas cans was that gas was cheaper in Arizona and Utah. Do you remember telling us that on direct?
No, I said Nevada and Utah.
All right, gas is cheaper in Nevada and Utah, right?
Yes.
You weren't filling up in Nevada or Utah, were you?
No.
You were filling up in California, right?
Yes.
Where the gas is as expensive there as it is probably throughout the state, right?
No.
Or well, it was expensive in California, isn't it?
More than Nevada and Utah, yes.
And so you had actually, and California is kind of a progressive state in the sense that it has gas stations almost everywhere, doesn't it?
Objection, foundation, relevance.
Restate your question.
On your travels on that date, you went from the Monterey area down to Salinas. Any trouble seeing any gas stations there?
No.
From Salinas all the way down to Pasadena. Any problem seeing any gas stations there?
No.
So it seems that your fears about gas in California were not well founded then, right? There was gas in places that you were traveling in California, right?
I didn't have any fears in California of that, so no.
You had fears somewhere else, correct?
Yes.
Arizona, for example, right?
No.
Well, you did end up going through Arizona, right?
Yes, I did.
And so, presumably, is that where the fears were, in Arizona?
No, I'd driven that highway many times. I knew where the gas stations were there.
So you didn't really have a need for gas if you're going to drive through Arizona, then, right?
No, that's right, yes.
Pardon?
That's right.
And you were telling us, though, that approximately every 150 to 170 miles, your car was running out of gas. Do you remember telling us that?
150 to 170 miles?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't remember saying that.
Well, do you remember that you said that you had problems with that your Ford Focus had problems with gas, that it was using too much gas on direct examination?
I remember running out quickly, yes.
Well, you told us that this car, the Ford Focus, was using an inordinate amount of gas, correct?
No, that wasn't my thought.
Well,
It ran out of gas quickly.
you told us that from Pasadena, then you filled up at Desert Center, right?
Yes.
That's approximately 170 miles down the road, right?
I don't know.
Well, you drove it.
It sounds
Protection
right.
Foundation, she asked, man.
Sustained. Ask another question.
And after that, you then said that you drove out to Buckeye and you filled up there, right?
Yes.
That's approximately another 170 miles, right?
Protection Foundation.
Overruled.
I guess.
Well, you did drive that, though. You
Yes,
did
I
tell
did.
us that, right?
Yes.
And you told us that both of those times you filled up, right?
Yes.
And you filled that car up with 12 gallons of gas approximately every time, right?
Whatever it would have been, I filled up, I think.
Well, if you were running low, we've already seen the capacity, then it would be approximately 12 gallons, wouldn't it?
Yes, I guess.
Sustained.
Ma'am, you said that you filled up in Winnemucca, right? And your car was low, ran out of gas, right?
It did not run out of gas. I was low.
Oh, so it didn't run out of gas, and yet you were able to put over 12 gallons worth of gas in Winnemucca, correct?
That's correct.
And so if you are running low on gas in Desert Center, that would mean that you would put approximately 12 gallons worth of gas, right?
Approximately.
And then from that point over to Buckeye, you said you put gas into the car again, right?
Yes, I did.
So that would mean that you would put another 12 gallons worth of gas in the car if it was running low,
Objection,
based,
that's been answered.
based on the previous computations.
Overruled. You may ask.
If you base it on those computations, but I stopped in Buckeye because the Shell station there always had cheap gas.
I'm not asking you whether or not it had cheap gas, right? Am I?
No.
Do you remember that on direct examination, the way you prefaced this was that, oh, this car used an inordinate or a lot of gas. Do you remember telling us that portion?
Yes.
And that as a consequence of that, do you remember telling us that you stopped at Desert Center, right? And
Yes,
put gas in it.
I did.
And then you also said, and because of this problem that it was running low on gas, you also stopped in Buckeye, right? You told us that,
Yes,
right?
I did.
So if this car is running low on gas, that means that it's close to empty, right?
Yes.
And so that would mean that if it's close to empty, it would be around 12 gallons that you put at Desert Center inside the car tank, right?
Approximately.
Approximately. And then it would be another 12 gallons worth of gas there at Buckeye, right?
Presumably, yes.
Well, given the computations that we have going. And then you made your way over to Mesa, right?
Yes, I did.
And how long did it take you to get to Mesa?
That hour of the morning, not long because there was no traffic.
And how much gas did you use?
I don't know.
And all the while you have these gas cans full of gas, right?
Yes, I did.
And because you filled up in Pasadena, correct?
Yes.
And where did you put these gas cans?
They were in my trunk.
And again, in the back part of the trunk?
Yes.
And you maintain that this third gas can, that you did not have a third gas can then, right?
No, not at that time.
When you keep saying that at that time, I'm asking after Salinas, you did not have that gas can, right?
That's correct.
To summarize what you just heard, the receipts revealed that Jodi filled up her rental car in Pasadena on June 3rd at 8:42 p.m. using her debit card to pay at the pump. And then just 4 minutes later at 8:46 p.m. in a separate transaction, she walked inside and prepaid with cash, not her debit card, for nearly 10 gallons of gas at the same gas station, which was used to fill up the 2 5-gallon gas cans she borrowed from Daryl. But the clue that made the prosecutor suspect that there was a third gas can was the additional receipt from the same gas station just 7 minutes after the 2 gas cans were filled up. This time, Jodi again went inside to prepay with cash, purchasing an additional 2.47 gallons of gas at 8:53 p.m. So, with her car full of gas and the 2 gas cans at their combined 10 gallons of capacity, The only logical explanation was that there was an additional gas can. Prosecutor Martinez followed his gut and started looking at other receipts that Jodi stored in a shoebox from her trip, hoping to find evidence of the missing third gas can. As luck would have it, he found a receipt from Walmart with various items that had been purchased with cash. The receipt had an item labeled 5G Caro Carb. Not knowing what the item was, he called the Walmart and was able to confirm that the item was in fact a 5-gallon gas can.
Take a look at 237.008. Do you see that? Do you see the receipt?
Yes.
And at the very bottom it says 5G. That actually means 5 gallons, right?
Yes.
Caro Carb is the type of gas can, correct?
Yes.
And it's $12.96, right?
Yes.
Ma'am, at the time that you bought it, one of the things that you were telling us was that you were very financially strapped, for lack of a better phrase, right?
That's right.
So if you want to save on gas, which is on the price of gas, which is what you say is your ultimate goal, right?
At the time that I wanted gas cans, that was my ultimate goal.
So that was your ultimate goal at the time that you talked to Mr. Brewer, right?
That's correct.
So if you want to save on gas, why is it then that you're willing to pay $13 for a gas can, which would increase, if you will, the price of travel
Well,
by $13?
that wasn't a calculation that I made when I bought it. That's why I returned it.
Do you have the receipt that you took it back?
I didn't get a receipt.
So Walmart did not give you any documentation whatsoever when you took that gas can back?
I don't think so.
Well, I'm asking you just I just want to be as clear as we can about this. You believe that when you took that gas can back, Walmart did not give you any written document evidencing that or showing that?
I don't recall having to fill anything out or any documents regarding that, no.
You weren't even given a printout or anything at all, right?
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying I don't remember.
And you would agree, though, that if you bought the gas can and it was approximately $13, it would not make any financial sense if you were looking to save for gas, correct?
I do agree with that.
And the other thing is, if you're looking to save for gas and you're trying to do this, wouldn't it have made more sense to have filled up in Pasadena, then driven up to Nevada, if that's where you were going, and once you get to Nevada, fill up the gas cans? Wouldn't it have made more sense then?
Yes, it would have if that were my goal.
Well, your goal at that time when you were filling up was to travel up to Utah. Didn't you tell us that?
Yes.
So you didn't do that though, right?
I did not end up going directly to Utah.
I'm not saying whether or not you ended up going directly to Utah. At the time that you filled up these cans, your plans were to go to Utah, weren't they?
Yes.
Because of the time on there, correct?
Yes.
Previously, you had told us that you didn't speak to Mr. Alexander until after that, right?
That's right.
In fact, you were at getting some coffee or something, right? At Starbucks, something like that. Or some drink at Starbucks, correct?
Yeah, strawberry drink.
Right, at Starbucks, right?
Yes.
And so, if you are going to go from Pasadena to Nevada, you can make it on a tank of gas, can't you? Overall.
I've never driven that freeway, so, I mean, this is the USA, so I would guess yes, but I've never driven that road, especially not at night. So
You didn't think that perhaps all that way from Pasadena to Las Vegas, there wouldn't be a gas station? Did you believe that that was the case?
no, I didn't believe that was the case.
So if you really are trying to save on gas, you would have continued driving through California and filling up in California until you got to Nevada. And then you would have been able to purchase the cheaper gas, right?
That was a long question. I'm sorry, will you say it again?
Well, it would have made more financial sense for you to keep driving from Pasadena northeastbound until you got closer to the border, right?
That's right.
And then when you got to Nevada, then it would have made more sense to fill the gas cans, right?
Financially, yes.
And that was your goal, correct?
At the time I got the gas cans, that was my goal.
Your goal changed, apparently, is what you're saying, right?
I still wanted to save gas, but my priority changed.
Okay, and so with regard to exhibit number 237.012, this is the one that's approximately 10 gallons. And then 237.013. It's approximately 2.7 gallons. You see that?
Yes,
You were the person that actually put the gas into the gas cans, right?
that's right.
And you know that one of the gas cans was 5 gallons, right?
Yes.
The other was 5 gallons, right?
Well, I believe it was because that's what Daryl said.
They were the same size, weren't they?
They were the same size.
And so if that's the capacity, the most that each can carry is about 10 gallons, right?
Yes, I guess.
Yeah, you were able to put 10 gallons plus 2.774 gallons in containers, weren't you?
No, I think the other one, the 10-gallon, was probably the car.
Was what?
Probably the car, I would guess.
What did you, tard?
Car.
So you're saying that this one right here, 237.012, went to the car.
That's very possible.
And you're saying that this one right here, 237.001, went into the gas can. Is that what you're saying?
That sounds right.
Why are you breaking it up then, this purchase? If you're going to put 10 gallons in the gas can, what you're saying is you went to the pump, went to the gas cans, and you put 8.3 gallons worth of gas in it, right?
Yes.
Then you made that debit transaction, right?
Yes.
And then you put gas in the car, according to you, right
Yes.
here, at 8:46, right?
Right.
You went inside to do that, right?
I think so, yes.
Well, no, it says initial payment. You can't pay at the pump, right?
Sometimes you can, but I don't
Well,
know
you
about
think
a
you can pay at the
prepayment.
pump there, right?
If I remember correctly, I don't know about ARCO. So, I mean, I prepaid is what I know.
Well, ma'am, let's just get to the bottom of this. You say that you don't know. It's 237.012. Do you see right here?
Oh, yes, clerk.
Well, let me just ask the question. It's clerk 2525, right?
Yes.
That means you went inside, right?
I don't know. I would guess.
Well, did you go inside?
I know I went inside at one point, but I don't know which payment I went inside for. So,
And 237.011. You see a clerk there anywhere?
no.
And then, I'm sorry, it's 2046 and 2053, which is 7 minutes later. So 237.012, you see the time there, right? 2046, right?
Yes.
And then 237.013 is 2053. You see that?
Yes.
7 minutes later, you go back inside, right?
7 minutes later from
7 minutes later.
the 8 gallons?
From
Is that what you're saying?
2046. I'm just looking at times here.
Okay.
Well, no, do you have any reason to doubt the authenticity of these records?
No.
So 7 minutes later, first of all, you go in at 8:46 and you pay for the gas, right? With cash.
Yes.
Then you go back and you pay for more gas, right?
Yes.
And then before that, at 8:42, you pay for more gas again, right?
Yes.
What you're doing, man, is actually filling up the 2 5-gallon gas cans first. Aren't you doing that first?
I don't know if I filled them, but I don't remember what order I did.
And after you filled that, you filled up the 3rd gas can, didn't you?
I didn't have a 3rd.
And before you did all of that, you put gas in your car, right?
I don't remember what order I did it.
Juan Martinez continued throughout the trial to pick apart Jodi's story piece by piece. Using her own words against her, along with evidence found at the crime scene, he strategically laid out for the jury how Jodi was not a victim in this case, that she was a calculating murderer who took many steps to plan Travis's murder by luring him into the bathroom using the ruse of a photo shoot so she could get him into a vulnerable enough position to kill him. Detective Michael Melendez testified earlier in the trial about the photos recovered from the crime scene. He was the detective who recovered the photos and analyzed them. Testimony regarding these photos, taken in the moments before Travis was murdered, would prove to be some of the most difficult parts of the trial for Travis's family. They all sobbed as each photo was displayed on screens for the entire courtroom to see. To summarize Detective Melendez's testimony, he found that the dates and times were saved for many of the images, including images that had been deleted. The first images collected from the memory stick, dated June 4th, 2008, were of Jodi and Travis engaged in a sexual encounter in Travis's bedroom at 1:42 p.m. More images recovered from the memory stick revealed photos of Travis in the shower. This sequence of photos began at 5:22 p.m. and were of Travis posing for the camera as water runs down his head and face from the shower head. At this point, Travis appears to be a willing participant in the photo shoot. He's turning around, letting Jodi take pictures of his physique and of the side of his face. The last photo in the sequence that was taken intentionally is timestamped 5:29 p.m., just 7 minutes after the first photo in the sequence. Travis is looking directly into the camera, and it appears he's now in a seated position in the shower. The expression on his face is tense. He's not smiling, his mouth is closed, his lips are tightly shut, and his brows are furrowed. I can't say for sure what Travis is thinking in this photo, but it's haunting to imagine the possibility that he may have understood in this moment that something terrible was about to happen to him.
How long was he in the office before the two of you went somewhere else?
A few minutes. We went upstairs
And you went upstairs to do what?
to take photographs.
And so you're telling us that he agreed with you to take photographs, right?
Yes.
Do you remember that you had a conversation with the detective and that you told a different story?
No.
Well, let's listen then.
Afternoon, I just, he had been cleaning his house. So I wasn't sitting on the couch. Usually I would just chill on the couch downstairs, if no one was home. But he had like chairs and all that stuff all over the couch. He was cleaning the floors. Fed Napoleon. I don't know if he made phone calls or not, or what he was doing on the internet, but at one point he was going to go up and take a shower, and it took a lot of convincing prior when he was shaving. I was like, I got some ideas, and they didn't turn out good at all, not like I wanted to. But I thought that I could get some cool pictures of him shaving. It's because he does the whole old-fashioned thing with like this little, I don't know how it works. He liked it though, apparently, because he used it for his profile picture on MySpace. So those didn't turn out as good. I was going to do that again later, but I asked him if I could do pictures of him in the shower, and he's like, no. And I was like, I just have an idea. I have a couple ideas. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, I saw this thing in a Calvin Klein ad once that looked really good. And so he was, you're right, he wasn't very comfortable at first. He's standing there and he's all, I feel gay.
And so it took a lot of convincing for you to get him to take those photographs, right?
Yes, I was talking about a prior incident.
Ma'am, it does indicate that it took a lot of convincing for you to take those photographs of him, correct?
Yes, but not on June 4th.
Ma'am, the photographs that I was asking you about in the shower were the ones involving, or that you were asked about on direct examination, involved him taking a shower on June 4th. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That's the same thing that we're talking about here on June 4th, isn't it?
No, that's the distinction. We had discussed the shower photos long before this.
So you're saying that when you told that to the detective, you're talking about something totally different other than June 4th?
A conversation that occurred before June 4th.
Ma'am,
Yes.
well, I'm asking you if the conversation that you're having there with the detective, is it in reference to the June 4th, 2008 photographs, yes or no?
Yes, in an indirect way, it obviously is, because the photos
Ma'am,
exist
yes or no?
because he agreed to do
Ma'am,
it.
yes or no?
I said yes.
So it does refer to the photographs on June 4th, 2008 then, right?
Yes, but not the conversation.
And ma'am, my question is, after that, it does say that it took a lot of convincing to get him to have those photographs, right? Yes or no?
That's correct.
And it also indicates that at the time he was shaving, right?
No.
It doesn't indicate that he was shaving before he took the photographs?
No, that was another incident.
Well, let's take a look at what it says again, all right?
Prosecutor Martinez plays the clip again for the court to hear.
And ma'am, you heard the conversation in which you said that it took convincing, correct?
Yes.
And you indicated that he was shaving prior to these photographs being taken, right?
Yes, months prior.
Ma'am, did you hear on that tape that it said he was shaving, right?
Yes.
And ma'am, one of the things that we know from what you told us previously was that, do you remember the situation of you being tied up to the bed with this rope? Do you remember telling us that?
Yes.
And do you remember that you told us that he was engaging in performing oral sex on you? Do you remember that?
Yes.
And do you remember that You said it was stopped because it was uncomfortable. Do you remember saying that?
Yes.
And the reason that it was uncomfortable that you said was because he hadn't shaved that day. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And so he hadn't shaved that day, had he?
No, he did
On the
not.
day that you killed him, he hadn't shaved yet, right?
I don't think he shaved at all that day.
You don't think? Well, then let's take a look at Exhibit 159.
Prosecutor Martinez displays the last photo of the sequence, the same photo of Travis looking right into the camera with the tense expression on his face.
All right, take a look at the Exhibit 159 that's behind you. You see that?
Yes.
Looks like he's shaved, doesn't it?
It appears that way, yes.
Yeah, and it looks like he's recently shaved, doesn't it?
It does look that way.
And you were talking to Detective Flores about him shaving prior to the photographs being taken, weren't you?
Yes, but not this day.
Ma'am, you did indicate in this excerpt of your conversation with the detective that it involved that there was this shaving before these photographs were taken. Do you remember talking about it on the excerpt?
The shaving photo shoot, yes.
Do you want me to play it for you again so you can hear what you say about the shaving previously?
No, thanks. I know what I said.
Well, it appears that you're having trouble acknowledging what you said. In it, you talk about him having to be convinced, correct?
Yes.
And one of the things that you said was that you convinced him while he was shaving, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Well, let's listen to it again, okay?
Following the photo of Travis's face, the next sequence of photos from the camera were blurry images taken unintentionally. The blurry images are time-stamped, and at about a minute after the photo of Travis's face at 5:31, there's a photo of the ceiling of the bathroom, followed by the final image at 5:32 p.m. The final image in the sequence reveals Travis's body lying on the floor, covered in blood. The photo also reveals the back of a pant leg and a foot. The state theorized that this photo was taken while Jodi was moving Travis's body back into the shower. The entire attack took less than 3 minutes. As we know, after the murder, Jodi left Mesa en route to Utah to visit Ryan Burns. This is a man whom Jodi had a romantic interest in from prepaid legal. When she arrived in a town near Salt Lake City named West Jordan, Jodi was stopped by police. Jodi had testified that before she got to Travis's house, the license plates on her rental car had been tampered with by some kids at a Starbucks.
When you get to Southern California, you're now at the Starbucks, right?
Yes.
And you're at the Starbucks, and you are sitting around drinking your strawberry frappuccino, right?
No, I just went in and then came out.
Okay. And in the time that it took for you to go in and come out, something happened to your car, according to you, right?
Yes.
There was another series of coincidences here,
Well,
right?
I think it was that time that happened.
Well, no, that's what you sort of indicated on direct examination, that that's when you think it happened, right?
Yes.
How long were you inside of Starbucks?
I'd say 5 to 10 minutes. I used the restroom. There was a long line, and then after I got my drink, I waited for it to be made, and then I went back out to my car
Right.
to get on the road.
And according to you, then you came out to your car, right?
Yes.
And when you came out to your car, you indicated that there were some skaters there, right?
Yes.
And about what time of the day was that?
It was at night.
So what time at night?
I don't know. It was, I don't know, sometime between 9 and 10. I don't know. It wasn't too late, but it was at night.
And while you're there, when you come out, you see that there are these skaters laughing near your car, correct?
Not like laughing loud, just kind of snickering.
So they were snickering near your car, right?
As they were skating away from my car.
Right. And there were other cars in the parking lot, right?
Yes.
And it was a pavement kind of parking lot, right?
Yes.
It wasn't dirt or anything like that. And one of the things that you notice when you get into your car is that you see something in front of you, right?
Yes.
And you decide to investigate, right?
Yes.
And were you pulled in, ma'am?
Yes. I was pulled in forward.
You were pulled in forward and there was a sidewalk in front of you?
The sidewalk wasn't directly in front of me, but there was a curb.
So there was a curb and your bumper's right next or in front of that, right?
That's right.
And you're coming out from the Starbucks, which is presumably on the sidewalk, which is what you're calling the curb, right?
No, but the Starbucks would have been behind and to the right of the vehicle.
Okay. So there was this curb there, and you see these individuals. How many were they?
I think there were 3.
And you then, is it well lit? This area, is it well lit?
There are lights in the parking lot.
And you go and you get in your car and you turn the car on, and you're getting ready to leave, right?
That's right.
And as you get ready to leave, you turn your lights on, right?
Yes.
And as you turn your lights on, something catches your eye, right?
Not till I began to back out.
Okay, so you begin to back out and something catches your eye, right?
Yes.
Why do you care that something's out in front of you if you don't know anything about your license plate? Why would you even care?
Because it was a reflector. It was reflective, and I just kind of put the two together, like, maybe I should check what that is real quick before I hit the road.
And when you're saying it's a reflector, are you talking about the registration tags that they put on the back of, or on the license plates?
No.
What kind of reflector are you talking about then?
It was kind of like it just lit up more, like it reflected a lot more than anything else around it. The pavement was dull. It was lit, but like by my headlights, but not like this thing that was bright.
And it was flat though, right?
It was just a flash, so.
No. The object was flat, correct?
I didn't see until I got out that it was a flat license plate.
So when you're in the car, you don't even know it's a license plate, right?
No, not till I get out to investigate.
So that means that as you're backing up, you see this something that catches your eye, right?
Yes.
And it's about 9 or 10 o'clock at night, right?
Yes.
And you decide to go look at it, right?
Yes.
And so you look at it and you decide it's a license plate, right?
Yes.
Well, ma'am, why take it?
Because I looked right at, well, I pulled back in, turned my car off. And then I looked at my license plate, it had bugs all over the front, minus where the license plate was. And I had just driven some 500-600 miles from Wairika, or
Right.
Reading. And then the license plate that I was holding had a
Right.
ton of bugs of the same kind of like
Sure.
amount. So
Right.
I just kind of threw it in my car and left.
The patrol officer in West Jordan, Utah that pulled Jodi over testified at trial that the reason he pulled her over was because the license plate on the back of her car was upside down. The implication that Jodi had removed her license plates from the rental car prior to arriving at Travis's house in Mesa on June 4th helped to further the state's theory that Jodi acted with premeditation. The jury was given an opportunity to ask Jodi some of their own questions. This gives us some idea of what the jury was thinking by the end of Jodi's testimony.
When did you find out that Travis had a gun?
I found out in the fall 2007 when I was cleaning his shelves. I had different projects, and it was around the fall. I don't remember if it was in October or November, but it was around that time.
Why would you continue to sleep with Travis after you learned of his child porn issues?
That was not a side of Travis that he wanted to even exist, and of course I didn't want it to exist. I was under the impression that when he was able to sleep with a woman as opposed to fantasizing about a child, he felt like more normal as a man. So also I had seen prior to this incident many beautiful qualities about him and good qualities about him and things that were attractive about him. And I believed that this incident was a negative part of himself that he didn't want to foster, or that he was fighting or struggling against, and that he ultimately wanted to eradicate.
During the trips you took, did you take extra gas cans with you?
Only after I moved to the desert. Daryl was like, we're from the coast, so we had total shocks to our systems when we experienced our first summer here. And we began to carry cases of water in our trunk. And if we were going long distances, we'd carry a gas can just in case, because he thought he would be like, you could die out here. You know, if something happens, if your car runs out of gas, you can't turn the air conditioning on, you could literally die of heat stroke, and that was a fear. So we carried water, and we didn't carry gas around with us all the time if we were just hanging around town, but if we went out to 29 Palms or somewhere like that, then that would happen.
You said you got the 2 gas cans so that you could fill up in Nevada or Utah, where gas was cheaper than California. Why did you fill the gas cans up in Pasadena?
Yes, that's why I initially got the gas cans from Daryl, was so that I could save money on gas and that kind of thing. I'm a coupon clipper, that kind of person. But when I got to Southern California and realized I'm taking the I-15 across 2.5 states, I've never driven this before. It's the middle of the night. I'm by myself. I'm in a car that I'm not very familiar with. I didn't want to be stuck in the dark somewhere in the desert. I've heard lots of horror stories, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't stranded.
You say Travis had attacked you before June 4, 2008, but would apologize to you after he did it. So why was the June 4, 2008 incident so different?
June 4th was escalated, and he always apologized afterward prior occasions. On prior occasions, I'd never feared for my life. And even when he was choking me out and I was losing consciousness, I didn't have enough time to fear for my life. I passed out. It wasn't until after that incident, when I reflected back on it, that I realized I could have died. And if he could take it that far, and he was as angry as he was, and I perceived very clearly that he was trying to get back on top of me again, that freaked me out. I was scared out of my mind.
Why is it that you have no memory of stabbing Travis?
I can't really explain why my mind did what it did. Maybe because it's too horrible. I don't know. I really don't know the answer as to why I blacked out or have memory gaps that much of that day.
What happened to the clothes you were wearing on June 4, 2008?
I don't remember.
Why did you place Travis's body back in the shower?
I could only speculate because I don't remember.
Did you try and clean up the scene after you left on June 4, 2008?
Based on the evidence, I believe I did. Maybe make some kind of attempt, but I don't recall doing that.
Why did you take the rope and gun with you?
There were a lot of actions I took that day that I don't remember. But as far as disposing of it, I knew that something bad had happened, and I knew that I felt like I had done something wrong.
Did you lock Travis's bedroom door when you left on June 4, 2008?
I don't remember anything of that nature. That whole time gap, I don't know.
To your knowledge, did police ever find your grandfather's gun that was stolen?
To my knowledge, no, none of the property that was stolen from that house was recovered ever.
If Travis attacked you on June 4th, why not just tell the police the truth from the start?
That one's kind of a complicated answer. I didn't want people to know the kinds of things that were going on in our relationship. I felt that if I told police Travis attacked me, I would have to give explanation as to why he attacked me. And if I gave explanation as to why, I would have to go back through the different incidents that we'd gone through and how those things didn't really begin until after I walked in on him. I believe they were related, and I didn't ever want to go there. So it was all convoluted, and I thought that by saying that would open the door to that. And I didn't want to de-edify him. I was embarrassed about a lot of those things, and I was ashamed. And I was also very scared about, whether I was defending myself or not. I felt like it was wrong to kill somebody regardless of the circumstances.
Why would you take the time to delete the photos off the camera after you killed Travis?
That would go with all the other things that I did that day when things happened. I don't have memory of it, specific memory of it at all.
If your phone had died while at Travis's, why not use a wall charger so you would have it charged before you got on the road?
That was a thought of mine, but Travis did not have a wall charger that had a plug that fit my type of phone. So I was not able to charge it there either.
How is it that you were so calm on the television interviews?
I tried very hard to present the best image I could, and I had a lot of prior experience of pretending that everything was okay when it wasn't. Everything on the surface was okay when really it wasn't. I was accustomed to that, and also I wanted to portray that I'm confident and that I'm okay. I didn't do this, no worries. That's what I really wanted to get across at that time. And then I wanted to kill myself so that I would never have to own up to it.
The trial continued for weeks after Jodi's testimony until finally on May 2nd, 2013, closing arguments began.
Jodi Arias killed Travis Alexander. And even after stabbing him over again, and even after slashing his throat from ear to ear, and then even after taking a gun, shooting him in the face, she will not let him rest in peace. But now, instead of a gun, instead of a knife, she uses lies. And she uses these lies in court when she testified to stage the scene for you, just like she staged the scene for the police after she killed Mr. Alexander. And this woman who would stage the scene has even attempted to stage the scene through the use of the media. She has courted the media. She has gone on national television. You've seen the programs, and you've seen some of her words to the media. She has also attempted or gone out in search of the limelight. She has signed a manifesto just in case she becomes famous. And to top it all off, she has indicated that she is innocent, that no jury will convict her, that none of you will convict her after she has staged the scene for you. Well, she is an individual, as you have seen, who has craved the limelight. So it seems that it is only fitting that this individual that has craved the limelight, it is really only fitting that she now bask in a different kind of light, the light of truth. And in the light of truth, you can see who she really is. She's an individual who is manipulative. This is an individual who wants to play the victim, even though there is no abuse, as you heard from those that know her. She's an individual that, according to her own statements in an email on Valentine's Day of 2007 to Mr. Alexander, said that she was destructive. She's the individual that talked about what she did to doors, what she did to windows. And she's an individual that does not appear to be very nice to her mother because she lashes out at her and strikes her physically. Additionally, when the light of truth is shining on her, she is somebody who is just an individual that manipulates people. That, for example, when she's speaking to Mr. Alexander during that fateful May 10th, 2008 conversation that she talks about her sister and says how dumb and stupid her sister is. This is an individual who is manipulative. This is an individual who will stop at nothing and will continue to be manipulative and will lie at every turn and at every occasion that she has.
You may fear how your verdict will be received by those who love Travis Alexander, by those who love Jodi Arias, or by the world at large. But ladies and gentlemen, as the jury instructions that were read to you yesterday indicate, your job in determining what happened between these 3 minutes in time is to do an objective analysis of the facts and evidence presented to you. You are not to be guided by sympathy or prejudice or fear, but instead by your personal belief. And rest assured, each and every one of you are here because all the parties involved believe that you are the type of people that would have the courage of your convictions to stand by your personal belief against whatever pressures you may feel. Each one of you is entitled to deliver your verdict to this courtroom. You do not have to succumb to the pressure of a fellow juror who may not agree with you. You can have the courage of your conviction to deliver your own verdict. You are to have the courage of conviction to deliver your own verdict based on the evidence you've heard, and nothing more, nothing more. You are asked to put that fear aside and look at the evidence. And before we talk about the evidence and what this case is about, I think it's important to talk about what this case is not about. It's not about Snow White. It's not even about any of the 7 dwarfs. It's not about bad haircuts, and it's not about the sexual orientation of any of the witnesses. It's not even about whether or not you like Jodi Arias. 9 days out of 10, I don't like Jodi Arias. But that doesn't matter. Your liking her or not liking her does not objectively assess the evidence. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen? It's not even about her sitting before the cameras of Inside Edition and saying that no jury will convict her. It's not about that. It's about the evidence.
The following day, jury deliberations began until the jury reached a verdict on May 8, 2013.
Ladies and gentlemen, I understand you have reached a verdict. The verdict form has been handed to the bailiff. Please come forward. The clerk will read and record the verdict.
The State of Arizona versus Jodi Arias, verdict, count 1. We, the jury, duly impaneled and sworn, in the above entitled action, upon our oaths, do find the defendant as to count 1, first-degree murder, guilty. 5 jurors find premeditated, 0 find felony murder, 7 find both premeditated and felony. Signed, 4-person. Is this your true verdict, so say you want it all?
After the verdict, Travis's sister, Samantha, stood before the court to read an emotional victim impact statement.
My name is Samantha Alexander. I am one of Travis's younger sisters. There are 8 siblings, 4 boys, 4 girls, and this tragedy has forever changed our lives. I'm going to do the best to speak on behalf of my family. My family that has been tortured by the loss of our beloved brother and family member. From a family of 8 siblings, we have always been there for each other through the good times and the bad. We lost our father on Travis's 20th birthday and our mother shortly after. And through this trying time in our lives, Travis was the one that got us through the pain and the hardship because he was our strength. This is a picture of my grandmother. She is the one that raised Travis. My grandmother could not deal with loss, could not handle the reality of what happened. Travis being taken from us has put her over the edge, and her health eventually went into a downward spiral she never recovered from. Losing Travis has completely destroyed the overall health of our family. We lived a blessed life with our grandmother, and it was with insurmountable pain when our grandmother died shortly before jury selection of this trial. Travis was our strength, our constant beacon of hope, our motivation, and his presence has been ripped from our lives. His giving spirit, his determination for accomplishment, and his endless strength as the foundation of our family has been taken from us and never can be replaced.
Jodi was given an opportunity to address the jury before the sentencing phase of the trial began. She spoke about the pain she caused to the Alexander family, ways that she planned to help other women once she gets to prison, and shared photos of her life with the jury. She shared pictures of her artwork and talked about the things she'll miss out on because she'll be in prison. Sticking to her self-defense claim, Jodi showed the jury a t-shirt she had made that said "Survivor" on the front.
I've designed a t-shirt. This is the t-shirt. Of which 100% of the proceeds go to support nonprofit organizations which also assist other victims of domestic violence. Some people may not believe that I am a survivor of domestic violence. They're entitled to their opinion. I'm supporting this cause because it's very, very important to me.
In the sentencing phase of the trial, the jury was hung on the issue of the death penalty, forcing the judge to declare a mistrial. For clarification, this was just the sentencing phase of the trial, and the conviction of first-degree murder still stood. A second trial began nearly 2 years later on February 25, 2015, that also ended in a mistrial. In the end, the judge sentenced Jodi to life in prison without the possibility of parole. In the years since the trial, the Arizona Court of Appeals upheld Jodi's conviction and life sentence in 2020. This after her attorneys argued prosecutorial misconduct and that the media circus surrounding the case denied her the right to a fair trial. In a bizarre twist, both the prosecuting attorney Juan Martinez and Jodi's defense attorney Kirk Nurmi have since been disbarred. Juan Martinez was disbarred after multiple allegations of sexual harassment, and Kirk Nurmi was disbarred after writing a tell-all book about the case. In Mr. Nurmi's case, he titled the book Trapped with Miss Arias. He describes how he never wanted to represent Jodi Arias, and court records will show that he attempted to be taken off of her case prior to the trial. Thank you for listening to Buried Evidence, a true crime podcast. If you've been enjoying the show, don't forget to subscribe so you're notified when new episodes drop, and share the podcast on social media. We'll see you next time.